Alrighty guys, welcome back to another one. I just got back from filming some range videos with Josh, and we had probably the best 10 gauge buckshot assembly we have ever come up with. It was 18 pellets of double-aught, and all 18 of those pellets at 42 yards were in a 8 by 9 inch pattern, like a group this big. It really surprised us. We did something different with the wad than we usually do, and it really worked out in our favor. I did post a short of us shooting them. I had 12 out there at the range with us. We fired 10 of them on camera. One of them we patterned, and one of them we just ran over a chrono. So the velocity was 1103 or 1108. I can't remember, we didn't film it. But all 10 that we fired on camera, every haul looked perfect. It did quite a number on some water bottles and pop cans, things like that. Knocked over a stump pretty good. This is a 2 1/4 ounce assembly, by the way, moving right around 1100 FPS. So a pretty good 10 gauge buckshot assembly. The gun we used was my H&R Model 176 10 gauge Sportsman's Long Range 36 inch fixed full choke barrel. It says full choke, but it actually measures exactly 720, so it's technically extra full, which is a good thing, in my opinion, for buckshot turkey loads. This is the hull that we fired to pattern test it. As you can see, it looks just fine. Focus, there we go. Nothing wrong with it at all. The crimp looks beautiful, and this is a twice fired hull. When it gets refilled, it'll be a 3-time fired when we fire it. But yeah, nothing wrong with it at all. We're going to use a new Shadot hull for this one though. If you guys have been watching us a while, you know that neither one of us are fans of these Shadot 10 gauge hulls. They are really thin, especially that brass. That brass is the main issue with these. When you're resizing them, the ring, if you happen to use just a little bit too much pressure, it will squish the rim out, and it won't chamber in guns anymore. I know that happens whenever this is a new hull, so it's not going to happen. Whenever I go to knock the ring off, if the hull gets stuck down inside the press and I have to pull it out, it's done for. Can't reuse it, and it's happened to us a lot with one-time fired hulls. Just from using a little bit too much pressure when you're resizing. Sucks. They also have a tendency to crush fairly easy when you're trying to crimp them. The hull will buckle, usually happens right here or right here, and there's really nothing you can do to save that. Sure, you can still shoot them and they'll work just fine, but reloading them, nope, ain't gonna happen. Anyway, this pattern's so good, we just have to show you guys. Anyway, the components are a brand new primed Shadot hull. This stuff right here, 30 TPS wad. These are unslit, and that's what you need, the unslit ones, because this needs to be a 2-pedal full cut. Not 3/4, not 4-pedal 3/4 cut. No, 2 pedals full cut, all the way down to the bottom of the wad. That's what we did different. We are using a 1/4 inch 20 gauge felt wad, and 18 pellets of this double-aught buck here. It is 33 cal, and it is hard cast, tumbled, and polished. You'll also be needing some buffer. I'm using ITX today, and an overshot card, or a nitro card, whatever you have as an overshot card, because stack height is kinda low, even though it is 18 pellets of double-aught. But that's all you need. So normally I would use Gary Caskey's wad slitters here, facebook.com/gary.d.caskey if you want any of his tools. But his 10 gauge wad slitter I have, it doesn't have the 2-pedal slitter, so I'm having to use a pocket knife here. But luckily I've gotten pretty good at cutting these fairly evenly. That looks about right there. And all I do is just give it a little sawing motion on the top, and then I run it straight down once I have my cuts made. Do it slow, that way you can keep it consistent. It's not the absolute best job in the world, but I feel like it did fairly well. You can see it is pretty even for the most part. Little bit of a curve to it, but the one that we had in the shell we patterned also was kind of uneven, but it didn't seem to care. So I don't care either. Again, 30, that is in here. Now, we just need to insert our wad, get that seated, then take our 1/4 inch 20 gauge felt wad, drop that in there, and get it even. Then all you want to do is compress that, make sure that felt wad is in there good, and it is. Next, we have 18 pellets of double-aught. I just drop these in here, give it a shake. They will find their own way. Just make sure that the top 2 pellets are even across the top, not lopsided or anything. And then we can throw our buffer in, overshot card, and crimp. And by the way, I will try my best to show you here, but that 18 pellets is not going to work. Maybe if I try to hold one down. No. Anyway, the 18 pellets is exactly flush with the top of the wad. There is no pellet sticking up above the wad at all. It's all inside that wad. And that's a very good thing. So next, we need our buffer. I'm using Elite 2.2 CC Dipper. We need 3 scoops of it. Yep, 3. There's 2. And 3. I spilled a little bit, but that's fine. Now, where is it? Right here. I have this vibrating massager from Amazon. Watch this. And the buffer is settled. And it's that fast. A lot faster than tamping it in. And now I might be able to show you this. There you go. That's all you need. Top row of pellets about halfway covered. Let me get the lid back on this buffer jar. And I don't have any 10 gauge overshot cards, so what I do is I grab a nitro card and just tear off one section of it, like that. Set it on there. Now I'm going to grab one of Gary's wad tampers here. Oh, almost knocked him out, but get that flat. And that's the key to getting a good crimp, especially with these Shadot 10 gauge holes. You need to have that overshot card dead flat. I'm not going to edit any of these mistakes out. So one thing I have to do with these Shadots, and it's only these holes, I have to get a Mech 10 gauge crimp starter and actually get the crimp looking about like that, just barely started, because these are so thin that the Leloadol here kind of crushes them if you don't. But we'll give that the pre-crimp, and it looks beautiful. I have opened up the recess that normally would hold a 12 gauge shell underneath the pre-crimp stations. I've opened it up with a flathead screwdriver, honestly, to hold a 10 gauge shell, so I no longer have to get the primer door cover off my other press and set it right there. Nope, no longer need that. Now I can treat this as a fully functional 10 gauge press. Use the Rebacitor, and we have the crimp looking like that now. Now we just need to final crimp it. I gave it a little bit more because, well, why not? But now we just run it through our final crimp. Pray we don't crush it. When it's all said and done, I didn't crush it. We end up with a really good crimp. Actually, oops. I nicked one of the points in the crimp with the Rebacitor somehow, but doesn't matter. We have a really deep, nice set crimp. No taper, but I can fix that with the Got BN2. Overall, you can see this is completely even across the top, no waviness at all. Really good looking crimp, guys. What I'm happy about is we didn't crush the hull. That's what matters to me. No crushed hull. I figured I'd give you a better view of it. You can see we do have, once again, a nice deep set crimp. Really uniform across the top. No real waviness. And the crimp is very even and center, not lopsided. Although unfortunately I did somehow nick one of the points in the crimp with that Rebacitor. Just for what it's worth, if you're using a Winchester 10 gauge hull, you need, again, one section of a nitro card. If you're using a Federal, you need 2. This is 2 right here. If you're using a Remington, you need the entire nitro card because those are actually over 3.5 inches. The Shadots here are 3 3/8, not 3.5. The Winchesters are 3.3, even shorter than the Shadots are, but they have a little bit more internal capacity. The base wad's lower. The Federals are 3.45, very close to 3.5, but not quite. The Remingtons are the longest, they have the most capacity. 3 ounces is absolutely fine. You can even fold crimp it, no problem at all. The Remington 10 gauge hulls also last the longest. They are by far the best. Next time we do a 10 gauge buckshot video at the range, we will certainly include this one right here, because like I was saying earlier, that is the best 10 gauge double-aught assembly we have ever come up with. It's a good one. It's under 10 inches at 42 yards using a 720 non-ported choke. Ours is fixed full, extra full technically. I do want to mention though, whenever we chronoed this, it was with the Browning, not with the H&R. It has an 8-inch shorter barrel at 28 inches, which is normal length, not 3 feet. But anyway, yeah, it was 1103 or 1108 out of that gun, so I'd imagine out of that 36-inch H&R, it's 1200 FPS or actually even more. We chronoed some 2 3/4 inch 10 gauge buckshot out of my Browning, which again is 28 inches, and then the same shell out of the H&R, and we gained 230 some odd FPS. It was ridiculous.
Oh, you ready?
Yeah. 1549. I knew it was going to be high with that big 36-inch barrel. 1312. Looks like we gained over 200 FPS just by going up 8 inches in barrel length. That's pretty cool. It's crazy to me that you can actually fit 18 pellets of, as Wade Rush puts it, full-grown 33 cal double-aught in a 10 gauge wad, and it fits perfect. That is a long-range deer, hog, whatever round if I ever seen one. But anyway, guys, I think that's going to end this one here. Please like and subscribe. We always appreciate that. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down in the comment section below, and we'll get back to you. And if you want to, go check out our Patreon. You get early access to content, and it's as low as $1 a month. A link to our Instagram, Rumble, and merch store will also be in the description below. But other than that, you guys take it easy. We'll see you in the next one.